Hi Virgo, welcome to your April 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So I was just thinking okay, now how am I going to characterize April for Virgos? It's important to note, Virgo, that a lot of the transits that I bring up in these monthly readings are things that are changing. And so we're talking about short-lived transits. I don't always talk about the outer planets, and unless there's some significant event, I don't know. Don't even a lot of times talk about the aspects they make with each other. So I just like to focus on what areas are lighting up for you in particular months, and in April we're looking at the areas of your eighth house, which has to do with deep diving into your psyche and all of the things that lie beneath the surface. And I would call it like the calm surface, maybe a little bit high strung sometimes of Virgo, but still not overly emotional. Well, the eighth house is Scorpio's house, so that's a water house. But you happen to have it ruled by Aries. And so because of that, there's a lot of activity there as the month of April begins. And this is not uncommon. This is how April usually plays out for you. I'm saying usually because in addition to the typical personal planets going through this area, we also have Chiron, or you also have Chiron in this sector. And that has been there, I don't know, maybe a couple of years or so, and will be there for several more years. And this is a very tender kind of a situation, but on the positive side, it can really influence Virgos into careers or practices of healing. Whereas if you are involved in the healthcare field, you rule that house, the sixth house, so it's not really this long shot to assume you might be, that you gravitate into alternative modes of healing that are actually healing, that aren't just kind of masking symptoms, but are actually healing. And you may even see that mind-body connection, the spiritual connection, all of that. The eighth house is a house of magic and transformation. So shamanism, that's an earth type of religion that you may really take to like a duck to water, is here. And then we have these other, fairly quick-moving transits in this area. So as the month begins, the sun is there and Venus is there. And then on the 3rd, your ruler Mercury goes there. And Mercury can be that mental activity, and the 8th house can be the occult, can be astrology, the tarot, or some kind of esoteric studies. On the 11th, we have a new moon here at 22 degrees of Aries. So that could be some kind of a new study that you are undertaking, maybe a program for something in this area. And this is also a great time of general transformation, of birthing a new self. And of course, this would be a process. Let me think, like last fall, the full moon in Aries might have been the tip-off point. Usually they talk about the new moon leading to the full moon, and I guess that could happen here too, where you introduce some new practices that have their full potential come into fruition. Next October, I think, is the full moon in Aries. I'm not sure. Maybe it's I don't know what degree it is, but next September or October. So either way, something may be happening that is changing you fundamentally. On the 14th, we have a transit of Venus going into Taurus. So it's been in that 8th house. By the way, Venus in the 8th can bring money from other people, and that includes like inheritance issues. So in the 9th house, Venus wants, if Venus is going to spend money, it's going to be on a plane ticket. Venus in the 9th could be falling in love with a foreigner or something like that. And then, it's important to note too, Virgo, that now we're starting to get into these Earth transits. So, well, I should say too that Mars, as the month begins, is in Gemini. And that forms a square to you. One of the angular houses, in this case, we're looking at the sign before you, so that's the 10th house of career. So you may already be in high power mode as the month of April begins in terms of your professional life. And maybe that travel is connected with some kind of career situation. And that you're making money from your travels. It's not just, I shouldn't say just sitting there with a drink that has an umbrella in it, but you're actually making money. But that's good enough for me. I don't know about you. On the 19th, Mercury goes into Taurus, and so does the Sun. Both of these planets are going into that trine situation to you, the 9th house. And another thing about the 9th house, this is the God house. This is the house of Sag. So there's that positive thinking angle. There's also the angle of higher education. If you are an academic, this might be some kind of a new position in academia that is coming into play. The new moon will be here in this area in May, but this may give you like a little bit of a taste of what's to come. And it's just really great for having a positive outlook, a expansive mindset, and how you are living your life, and just wanting that freedom. And Virgos tend to be very connected to their work and doing things that are productive, and Sag loves adventure. And so I could see Virgos, if you are going on a trip or planning a trip, that you're planning something that will be intellectually stimulating, like tours through certain historical areas, and so that you can always learn something, because that's just how you roll. But with the Sag energy, or 9th house energy, I should say, it can be even more the case. And just whenever you have planets that are forming trines to you, there's always this feeling that you're in alignment with what it represents. In this case, the earth element is very, there's something really nice about the earth element. It feels very fruitful. I don't know, that seems like a weird thing to say. But I have the sun in Sagittarius, but my moon is in Virgo, and I have Taurus rising, I have Mars in Capricorn, I have a lot of earth. And one of the things that is so great about earth is that it is tangible. It's not theoretical. And there's something very comforting about things that are tangible, because we can interact with them at a very, on a very clear level. And so this is very good for manifestation of things, the trine and being in earth, as well. On the 23rd, Mars goes into a friendly angle, the sextile, and and this is in Cancer. This is a friendly angle to you. And this is coming before you. So this is the 11th house, the house of hopes and wishes, house of friendships, groups. Now, you may be doing some kind of activism, and Mars is very strident and very like aggressive in your face, and the 11th house can be humanitarian concerns. So there might be some kind of a pet issue that you are taking to the streets or whatever, belonging to some kind of group that is getting activated in this issue. This could be like you going after your dreams. And I have said before that, if you look online for resources, they will tell you that the 11th house are your goals. But our goals are, can involve like career matters. And a lot of times when we hear the word goal, I think we think of more of those kinds of things. And goals can be like, where do you want to live in the world? What kind of climate? What kind of housing is your ideal housing? So I like to look at the 11th house as goals, long range goals, apart from your career, because we can leave that for the 10th house. And then we can see that our lives are not just wrapped around one area like career, that we have other things that we want to accomplish. And it could even be hobby related, which is actually the opposite house, the 5th house. So, I mean, it can run the gamut. But in any case, you may be ratcheting it up, getting more and more determined to make your dreams come true. And because this is the area of friendships and groups, be careful about any tendency to get aggressive. Now, I was just reading the other day that a lot of people seem to be having conflicts with those that are close to them. Yes, of course, family. And this is not family. This is going to be your friendship, your social circle. And basically what they were saying is that because of the shift in consciousness to a higher state of consciousness, that is going to create these clashes between those people who are awakened, or, at least in the process of awakening, and those who are still asleep. And the people that are asleep, and probably you're not in that category. If you're listening to astrology, you're probably somewhere in between, or maybe you do feel very awakened. But the people who are asleep, one of the things that's so aggravating is that they don't seem to be interested in hearing alternative facts, or, whatever you want to call them, other points of view. And this is what brainwashing mind control does to people. And you can see it. The funny thing is about how split we are right now is that some of you may be listening to me and you may be thinking a completely different thing than what I'm, alluding to. That's the funny thing. Both sides, if you want to look at it as sides, thinks that whatever these comments are relating to the other side. And, it's, I've been on this earth for over 5 decades. I'm going to tell you, I've never seen anything like this. And I'm sure people that are even older than I am, can say the same thing. But in any case, the bottom line is that you don't have to take the bait if somebody else is trying to get your goat, if they're the one they know how your beliefs are and they're trying to poke holes in them. You can just there's nothing more showing off confidence than just standing in your power. A lot of times people get unhinged. They start to just, strike back, verbally. And the same goes for when you're trying to assert yourself and when you're angry. When you're very, calm, that's when you're in your sovereignty. When you're like, throwing your weight around, it doesn't have the same effect on other people. or when you're just like you're red in the face, like screaming. That's not, being in control. So, if somebody is trying to do that, to trigger you, that is supposed to be a friend, take note of that. Go, that's very interesting. I wonder if this person really, if I really resonate with this person anymore. Maybe I don't. Maybe I've outgrown this friendship. And it gives you more information. That's the main thing about all of these things that happen to us, is to give us information. So on the 26th, there's a full moon at 7 degrees of Scorpio. Again, another friendly angle, another sextile. Because it's coming after you, this is going to be the third house in another Mercury-ruled house besides your own, this time the third house, which is ruled by Gemini. So this is the house of the mind. Now, I will say that a lot of you will probably have this in the second house of earned income, and this could certainly benefit you financially. If you're not retiring and leaving your employment or quitting or something like that, which would cut off a source of income, and that could be the full moon, but it can also be getting a raise. It can be getting money that is owed to you. And, some people's line of work actually involves, like in sales. Sometimes you get like a commission on top of whatever you make per hour or for salary. And there just are different types of ways that you get money delayed, delayed income finally getting to you. And you may feel like, your coffers are refilled at the end of the month. And for those of you who this is falling in the third house, this can be ending a training course. This is the house of siblings and, by extent, other family members like aunts and uncles and cousins. Full moon here can, give you an epiphany in your relationship to them. So even, especially if it's a challenging relationship, you may say, I didn't realize how much they went through when they were children. And that I was the one who was favored. I'm just giving an example. And that was why they always resented me. And now I understand that they were kind of a victim. That's where this hostility has come from. And that might bring you and that person closer together. On the other hand, if you've had continuous problems with a sibling and there doesn't seem to be any resolution, you may say that is the end and cut them out of your life. Not because you want to, but because you have to. Again, remember that at the beginning of the month, we have a lot of energy in the 8th house, and I had mentioned an inheritance situation. But any kind of family, money, shared resources, which could, totally connect with your family of origin, these areas can be fraught with a lot of tension, because there can be people whose nature turns ugly when money is brought into the equation, and it can be very disheartening to face a loved one who doesn't who's so into the material energy that they are willing to risk their relationship with a family member. And, this certainly wouldn't have been the first time that happened. But what you can do is just to realize what they're really all about, maybe what they're up to, and you don't have to even declare anything to them. You can just, take a mental note of that. And if you had been more trusting of them in the past, realize that perhaps they're not acting in good faith, at certain times. So in any case, that's what I have for you, Virgo. I hope that you enjoyed this. And I just want to let you know that I do personal readings, and I've been doing deep dive readings, which are double readings. I've been really enjoying those, I have to admit, and they are great value because you get 2 hour-long readings for a discounted price. And, you get an hour with just the natal chart interpretation. And, suffice it to say, there's such a wealth of information in the chart that I could even go on. Sometimes I go on past an hour with that, with either one of these areas, because that's what's so fascinating about astrology. There's so much there. And I'm not even one of those astrologers who, has the bells and whistles. I'm just kind of like, I like to keep things simple, but I also like to, that's why, because I like to dive deeper. So I have that, and then I do like an hour of transits that might be important for you. Even that, that hour of transits or other transits that I have to pick and choose, unless I just went and just read them down a list. But I like to kind of draw connections to real life when I do readings. Probably that moon in Virgo that I like to analyze things. So anyway, I have another combination for tarot and natal chart transits called the whole enchilada, a whole bunch of stuff. Please click on the link below if you're interested in more information and to order. I thank you for listening. Have a great month. Take care. Bye.